Hello and welcome to Halftime Report. Well, it's 12 noon. We're halfway through the trading session. It's a good time to run you through what's going on at this point of time. I'm Nigel D'Souza, and with me today is Ekta Batra. Hey, Ekta. We have come off the high point of the day. Y'all have been tracking it for the last 1 hour or so. The Nifty Bank, well, that's taking a bit of a knock, but it's had such a big run in the last 1 month, or giving back some of those returns. I think in the last few days, in fact, it's corrected close to around 500 points from the peak we saw just a couple of trading sessions back.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's 1,100 points on the Nifty over a period of
a month. Yeah.
A month odd in terms of the gains that we've seen. So it's been a rapid rise, and it's been quite a phenomenal rise with a lot of FII inflow as well, which has supported the markets. But nonetheless, for today, we have the mid-cap index, which is just about managing to hold up with a gain of around half-odd%. But let's take you through the top stories that we're tracking at this hour. Markets climbed down from early highs. Key indices trade 0.25% higher, pulled up by Infosys, Reliance and SBI is the main drag. Mid-cap index sees a marginal outperformance.
It's got a very, very good chance of happening. I think that it will be great for both countries.
Well, and as hopes of a potential US-China trade deal grow, US President Donald Trump says the deal could be announced imminently, adds that it would be a very fair pact.
Cipla is the top index gainer after receiving an establishment inspection report from the US drug regulator for its Goa manufacturing facility.
Well, and market veteran Ramdev Agarwal calls Motown slowdown the worst in recent times, adds that the earnings growth is still not at its full potential. UTI's Vetri Subramaniam says that earnings expectations for FY20 have been set very high. All right, then, quite a few stocks moving around if you're looking at it in terms of the broader markets. Well, to just highlight a few stocks in the mid-cap space as well. In the last few minutes, we've seen a bit of a move in terms of Hindustan Zinc as well. That stock is up close to around 1% approximately. So we should get that one up for you on the screen. Remember, the zinc prices have been moving higher. From an India point of view, the only problem is that the rupee has shown some strength as well. So that's taking away some part of the gains for Hindustan Zinc. But talking about stocks that are moving and shaking around, let's get straight to our movers and shakers segment. And let's start off with Mangalam. He's joining in to tell us about Jyoti Laboratories after Macquarie had initiated coverage on the stock. Mangalam.
Well, Nigel, Macquarie initiated their coverage on Jyoti Laboratories with a target price of 250 rupees. They're overweight on the stock, implying a 35-36% upside from current levels, which is why the stock is higher. Why do they like the stock? Well, because the company has a diverse product portfolio in product segments which are growing at a fast clip and which have a long runway for growth as well. So Jyoti Laboratories gets its revenue from three major streams. The first one is the personal care business, where the biggest key trigger, growth driver, would be the shift that we're seeing in natural space out there. Their Margo, which is the neem product, is likely to gain some traction. The second key product category that they have is the fabric care segment, where Ujala and fabric wash Henkel is doing well out there. Premium products, liquid wash, as well as Ujala ancillaries like Crisp and Shine are likely to do better. And the third one is household insecticides, where Macquarie believes that the game is in market share gains from both the entry-level household insecticides, where the company has done some new launches, as well as the premium level, which is the liquid vaporizer, where the company is gaining some market share. With all of this, increasing ad spends, increasing distribution, and investment behind their power brands, the company is set for a fair growth. Over the next 2 years, 21% EPS CAGR is what Macquarie believes can be factored in, with a 220 basis points improvement in the return on equity. The stock currently trading at 22 times FY21 earnings, which is at a discount to what it has been trading in the last 5 years, which is around 30 times, which is the multiple that Macquarie assigns it as well, and which is why the stock is moving higher.
Okay, all right, Mangalam. Thanks very much for that. So Jyoti Laboratories, that stock is up around 5-odd%. So you're seeing that kind of traction come in. But the other section of stocks which are really doing well in today's trade has to be the entire housing finance space. So DHFL, for example, is up around 6.5-odd%. We have Repco after yesterday's fall, which is climbing higher. So that stock is up around 3.5-odd% at this point in time. Not all of them, because something like PNB Housing Finance is a bit sluggish, down around 1.6%. But Abhishek joins in to tell us about these housing finance companies and the news that he's tracking there. Abhishek.
Well, Ekta, you know, RBI has mentioned about establishing a committee on developing securitization market for the housing finance companies. Now, securitization is a way by which, you know, cost of funds for housing finance companies become lower, and they also, you know, are able to generate better fee income because they charge to manage those accounts to the lenders from whom they borrow money. So, Housing Finance Committee will be submitting report by August 10th. The proposed measure is to develop housing finance securitization market. If you look at this is being done on the view that Indian housing finance sector is mainly dominated by assignment portfolios or assignment transaction. Globally, what happens is that the mortgage originator actually package the portfolio into bonds and resell them. So, well-functioning securitization market can enable better management of credit and liability and liquidity risk on the balance sheet of both the financiers, the banks as well as the HFCs. The move can also help in lowering cost of mortgage finance in the country. So as I mentioned, you know, when an HFC securitizes portfolio to a bank, you know, the cost becomes lower due to the fact that it is a priority sector lending, and over there the interest rates are on the lower side compared to normal rates of borrowings that HFC do by the banks. So the objective is to study the best international practices as well as learn lessons from the global financial crisis. The proposed measures to develop further securitization market in India is positive. Move is very positive for the housing finance companies.
Okay, all right, Abhishek, thanks so much for that. In fact, on that note, let's listen in to the management of Repco Home Finance. They joined in earlier today, Mr. Yashpal Gupta, the MD of the company. Let's hear him out.
The securitization has been a good tool. Unfortunately, in India, it is limited to only few players. Basically, historically, if you see, commercial banks are buying the portfolio for meeting the PSL requirement. Overall, the market depth is not there. So RBI has announced a mechanism to look into that, which is a good step. But given the structural problems there, particularly with respect to taxes, the stamp duties, the resolution mechanism, I personally believe it's a good step, but it will take long time for it to actually make a real impact on the housing finance sector. For the overall growth rate, it will be about 12%. That is what we feel. And for the current year also, we are keeping the growth rate target around 15%.
Okay, all right, let's talk about some pharma stocks then. Cipla is doing well in today's trading session. Ekta, run us through the news.
Well, you know, for Cipla, actually, there are two pieces of news today. The reason why the stock is up is because they have received an EIR or Establishment Inspection Report for their Goa plant. So that means that basically that particular inspection, which took place in Jan of this year, where they received 6 observations, now stands closed by the US FDA. And separately, the second piece of news with regards to Cipla is that sources have told me that, you know, this enemy shareholding that we've been talking about, basically these shares which are left behind by people or entities post the China war or post the Pakistan war earlier, those particular shares which are now held by the government are being sold, but it's being sold over a gradual manner. So the holding was around 2.8%. It's come down to around 1.3% by the end of Q4. And it's not been a sudden sort of sale which has taken place like we saw for Wipro, but it is just a gradual sort of, sale which has taken place of these particular shares in the market. So that's the other piece of news which is currently, on Cipla. But the reason the stock is really higher is because of the EIR for the Goa plant.
Okay, all right, Ekta, thanks so much for that. Let's hop across to Sonia. She's in to tell us about Godrej Properties. That stock's doing well in today's trading session, and for the year as well, it's done quite well. Sonia.
Yes, in fact, the stock is up 40% this year. It's the best performing real estate stock for a couple of reasons. Now, in Q4, it reported record high sales. It sold 2,900 homes, equivalent to 3.75 million square feet. And post that as well, it has announced a slew of new projects. It has announced 2 projects, one in Vashi, New Bombay, as well as one in Bandra. The cumulative, the cumulative amount of these 2 projects is almost 1.5 million square feet, 500,000 square feet for the Vashi project, 1.1 million square feet for the Bandra project. project. Not just that, they've also completely acquired a company in the NCR region, Wonder Space, Private Limited, which is a company that sort of does projects in NCR. They've raised their stake from 25% to 96%, so it's now become a wholly owned subsidiary of Godrej Properties. So they're actually spreading their wings far and wide from Mumbai all the way to NCR, and the numbers have looked pretty good as well. That's why the stock has been outperforming the market.
Okay, all right. Sonia, thanks so much for that. Well, let's do a quick recap of all the buzzing stocks we just covered. We have Jyoti Laboratories, DHFL, Canfin Homes, Repco Home Finance, LIC Home Finance, Cipla, and finally, Godrej Properties.
Okay, well, the other big stock in focus and issue rather in focus is with regards to Jet. The lenders of Jet Airways met yesterday to discuss the resolution roadmap for the airline. Ritu joins in with the latest details that she's picking up. Ritu.
We're given to understand from sources that the lenders' meeting held in New Delhi yesterday for Jet Airways remained inconclusive, with the lenders not reaching an agreement on the release of 1,500 crore rupees of interim funding. But in a statement released by State Bank of India, it was said that the lenders intend to pursue the bank-led resolution plan for stake sale in Jet Airways in a time-bound manner under the present legal and regulatory framework. But do remember, the Feb 12 circular under which the resolution plan was initially being worked has now been quashed by the Supreme Court, and therefore we're given to understand that lenders will have to relook at some of these revival plans that they were working on, something that is of course not been detailed in the statement by State Bank of India. Further, the statement went on to say that expressions of interests will be invited starting the 6th of April, and the deadline to submit the same would be on the 9th of April. But the lenders, the statement said, are cognizant of the fact that the outcome of the efforts of the lenders will be dependent on the kind of interest that is shown by the parties on the sale of stake in the company. And further, it ended by saying that while all efforts were being made for this stake sale in the company, other options may be considered by the lenders should these efforts not result in an acceptable outcome. Now, this statement from State Bank of India in stark contrast to the kind of confidence that was shown by State Bank of India Chairman Rajneesh Kumar just a week or so back when he said a lender, a new buyer for the company would be in place by the 31st of May. But now, in this statement, they're admitting that other options may have to be considered, perhaps because the kind of interest that they had anticipated in the airline is not really being seen. In addition, we're also given to understand from top sources in the banking industry that even that 1,500 crore rupee of interim funding, which they did plan to release now in the light of the number of aircrafts that have been grounded for Jet Airways, may also be too little, too late.